Hey everyone, it's 10 Types, and GLC is here in Pokemon TCG Live. And when I say it's here, I mean it's here in live, not fully, unfortunately, not containing the black and white and X and Y era cards. I'm going to talk about that more on my video I'm releasing Monday, so make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss that. And I'm going to be talking about a bunch of different GLC things with Uncommon Fossil on the Reasonably Effective podcast, but ultimately, you can do most of the things you can do in full GLC in Pokemon TCG Live here. However, it is most notably hard to find deck lists online for the format, so I will have a list for each type and a pretty standard list. This is mostly looking at like limitless and deck lists for full GLC and adapting them to GLC and Live. For the most part, it's relatively easy. Most types aren't missing anything huge to any of their decks. I think the biggest one, double Dragon Energy for Dragon, for Water Octillery is definitely kind of like, not something you want to be losing. And I don't know, those are the main ones. I think I could be forgetting something. There certainly are various important cards as well. For example, Versus Seekers in a lot of decks, which I mostly replace with Palpad. It doesn't really function super similarly. Also, like Pokegear, probably tossing those two cards into decks as a pseudo Versus Seeker replacement. But again, it's different there. Cynthia and Caitlyn also has some similarities, but ultimately, there are ways to replace a bunch of the cards. Cards like Hex, Maniac specifically, as well as other ability locking cards. There aren't really many of those in terms of replacements, which is actually one thing that I think is good for expanded for GLC. It's not necessarily making the format more interesting there, but there aren't really great replacements there. I've added more disruptive cards, notably Reset Stamp I've tossed into a bunch of decks, but ultimately these are changes that I made, and I'm going to go obviously talk about the list as I kind of hop into them and break them down a little bit. But obviously not going super deep into all of the list here. But if you have any questions, be sure to leave that down below in the comment section and while you're down below, make sure you drop a like. It really helps out the video and the channel. But the first type here is Colorless. Also, the rules, if you're not familiar, GLC here is a format. There are a handful of rules, as I said, Sun and Moon, or is it Sun and Moon on? Only one copy of each card, except for basic energies. Then every Pokemon must be the same type, and then also cards with blue boxes are not allowed. Also, aspects aren't allowed, and there is a ban list here. I don't remember the most recent ban, or I do. It's Double Colorless and Twin. Don't remember when exactly they were banned, though. I think last time I talked about GLC, well, I made a video on it, I think yesterday or something, but the last time it was in live, I think it was still banned. But anyways, that obviously hurts, Colorless there, but that's the first time I'm going to break down because they actually give out a free color stack. I'm not going to lie, this deck isn't super good, right? We all kind of know that. If you don't, it's not super good. It's not terrible by any means, but it's kind of mediocre. It's a obviously colorless deck here. The synergy is a bit all over the place. Archeops is a powerful energy acceleration option. There's also Porygon Z, a somewhat similar card there. It can be good. Definitely can be good for setting up these big Pokemon, but requires, a lot of special energy. Colorless is going to be using a lot of special energy. You can make use of very powerful different ones. Capture energy is super good as a search. You have energy that just do different things. Giant energy and I guess also warp energy. There's going to be switching cards. You do still have double turbo energy as well as counter energy, which can be 2 energies. You have powerful energy, which is extra damage, which you see cards doing. Muscle Band also, that's another card that's played a bunch that is not in the format. You could replace it with Defiance Band. I replaced it with Hero's Cape as well. Like Fighting Fury Belt is kind of in between. I replaced that with Cape of Toughness or a Hero's Cape in a bunch of decks. Wait, I didn't build this deck, but I did put this card in some lists that we'll take a look at. But there's a bunch of different things that the energies can do, and Colorless is really good because it can do those things. You don't get the triggers from the on-play when you use Archeops, but it is still pretty useful. And then you also have Dodrio. Dodrio is kind of weird here as well. Dodrio allows you to put a damage count on it to draw. This is not in the colorless list, though it could be if you wanted it to. But then we see like the barrel, which is decent draw. The Dunsparce is okay, I guess, for draw, but it's as just a draw Pokemon, it's kind of mediocre. It can help you if you get hit by hand disruption, though. Not a terrible card. Fairnotom, also good. Also, I played a few games of GLC, a good chunk of games on live, and A lot of people are not super sure what they're doing. I literally played against someone, they didn't use Fan Rotom. They like played it, didn't use its ability. This is super good though, turn one to get a bunch of Pokemon in play. It's a decent attacking option as well. This list plays 2 stadiums, which is like a little low for one to get one, but there's also some other weird stuff here. This Buffon, very mediocre. This Autono, like I guess it draws, but it's like super underwhelming. But Barrel, as said, is good draw there. The Drampa, very mediocre. Not terrible. Has some setup utility there. Licky Licky, just kind of random. Kecleon, and then also Farigiraf. Wait, Farigiraf, this is the one. Okay. Apparently, then there's also this Talonflame, which actually needs Fire Energy. There's only one Fire Energy. If you want to adapt this list, you'd want more Fire Energies. I'd recommend Rainbow Energy, also has synergy with Dodrio there, kind of fun. Ultimately, though, it has Coin Flip synergy, it has Glimwood Tangle, but it's not very good. I mean, you got like Will, and you can control the Coin Flips, but it's not like you get crazy value from them anyways. And yeah, it's kind of bad. I'm not gonna lie. So I didn't want to talk about this deck because it is the free deck that everyone has, but there was a lot of room for improvement there. The Colorless list that I have here, this is pretty straightforward. You're using pretty much all basic attacking options. It has a handful of different Hops Pokemon. It has Hops Cramorant, Hops Snorlax, and also the Hops Double for some gusting. Hops Snorlax as well as the regular Snorlax are 2 very powerful attacking options for 3 colorless energy. The list does run TM Turbo Energize to accelerate energies. It runs Raihan, it runs Crispin, it runs Double Turbo, and you could use these cards to go ahead and attack with these powerful basics. There's also a Rangru, which is kind of similar, and there's also Hops Cramorant, another powerful Hops Pokemon. They're only on certain turns of the game, and also not necessarily as strong as the other options there. And you also have, as I said, some, or as you probably could have guessed, some Hops synergy pieces here as well with Hops Choice Band and Postwick. Ultimately, these cards are cool. Also, Fan Rotom. Fan Rotom is really good for setting up. In this deck, it's actually not amazing. It runs the Babero line. It runs, as I said, the Hops Double line. It runs a Squilvet, which synergizes with Babero to draw cards, and also this Pelipper line to search on play or recover. Pelipper, a super fun card as well. You can also reuse it with Devo Spray Z, as well as Scoop Up Net, and that could be useful. Also, I will mention a lot of lists I was looking at played Avery. I think this card is really, really bad. Well, not like really, really bad. I think it's kind of bad. I think it's about as strong as a draw 3 supporter. It discards your opponent's bench down until they have 3. Actually, no, in GLC is better. In standard, when this card was in standard, it was really bad, in my opinion. In GLC, it has some utility, but for the most part, it's not going to be doing too much. Those decks are going to have like a really full bench of like super useful Pokemon. But anyways, it is here. I don't think it's super good, but this is, as I said, mostly based on other lists. But I would personally cut it. That being said, if you are having consistency issues with GLC, add more supporters. This is the simplest way to increase your consistency. When I say add more supporters, I mean add draw supporters. They could be simply draw 3. I wouldn't recommend it. They're not super good. Something like Cynthia. I don't think that's in any of the lists here. I think every list plays Lily's Determination, except for this one, apparently. I'm pretty sure. I could be missing it, but Lily's Determination, super good. Iono's good. Professor's Research is good. And then you have stuff like Arvin, Marnie, I don't know if I said that, Raihan. Just generally play supporters. They get you cards. They're useful. The less you play, generally the more aggressive your deck is. If you're playing more supporters, it's more consistent. Supporters are powerful, but they're a little slow. And also, one of the most powerful supporters, including in this deck, is Guzman Hala, specifically in GLC. And you'll see decks playing the item Tag Call, which gets 2 tag team cards, which could include tag team Pokemon, but not here. And Tag Call is really useful for getting Guzman Hala, which is arguably the best. You discard 2, you get a Stadium, Special Energy, and Tool. Also, any deck can play the Stadium, and most decks do play the Stadium Artizone to get this one. Oh yeah, here it is. To get a Pokemon onto your board, a basic. And then also you can get an energy. Obviously, Colorless makes great use of special energy. And then tools, most decks play some like decent tools. So Guzman Hala is not necessarily a center point in every deck, but it is good. And Colossus Dynasty has some similarities, but doesn't get you the tool. So it depends what exactly you're looking for. Arvin obviously gets you that tool there and is a good card, but you see these cards. Not going to go over like everything, like all the staples like Guzman, Quick Ball, which aren't in standard, but as you take a look at lists, will see them there. And yeah, the deck is pretty straightforward, as I said. Swing with the big basics. You have some gusting. You just want to take knockouts. Not too much to overthink there. The one Snorlax does put itself to sleep, and the other one damages itself a lot. So you do need ways to kind of deal with that. The damaging yourself, I don't know, you could like there's not even that much you can do, but it's still really powerful. Then with the self sleep thing, you can use switching effects to get out of that. You play an escape rope, a scoop up net. What scoop net does discard the energy. You play Guzma, you play Pelipper to recover the Guzma, and you play Jet Energy as well. When I say switching, I do mean switching. Air Balloon does not work here because you are asleep. Potentially. So ultimately, the deck is very straightforward. You can also use TM Crisis Punch at the end of the game paired with Ignition or Triple Acceleration Energy to swing for a big knockout with any evolution. So that's kind of cool there. Then we have the next deck here, Psychic. These also aren't in any particular order. With Psychic here. Psychic is pretty good. You're relying on the three stage ones, I guess. Malamar, which accelerates energy. Zadu, which accelerates energy and draws cards. And Curlia, which draws cards. Glade also is like an engine piece. Mew is also an engine piece, I'll say. And then you have some basics. You have Giratina, which is just a pretty good basic. A bit well-rounded as well. Mimikyu, which is cool, but like somewhat hit or miss. Monkey Dory, just, a pretty good card. It's not like absurd in this deck, but it's pretty good. Then Iron Boulder. Iron Boulder, I will say, this card does more damage if you have the same amount of cards in hand as your opponent. You have those draw cards. It's relatively doable. Most of the time, it's really good. But this is Pokemon TCG Live. I don't know if this card works all the time. I've played with matching hand size cards in the past, and they have not worked all the time. So if anyone has tried this within the current GLC format and has had it, or within like the past handful of weeks since like Phantasmal Flames came out, and if they've had this card not work, tell me down below in the comment section so I'm aware of that, and so other people are aware of it as well, because that matters, right? If this card doesn't work, then don't use it. But it's a really fun card. It's a really powerful card. And then it also plays Pokemon Surge, supporters, normal stuff like that. A few more ways. I mean, it plays like Judge to mess with your opponent's hand, and it also plays TM Blindside. I saw this floating around. Don't know how good this is. We can use it with Giratina and Energy Acceleration to snipe one of your opponent's Pokemon. I also include Wondrous Patch, a nice little new addition to the deck, I think. But ultimately, nothing too crazy here. Again, kind of like Colorless, you're doing big attacks with the basics. Here you are powering them up with your board. You could also toss in Galarian Articuno, which isn't in this list, but it's a pretty decent card there. And then, yeah, you just have these big attackers. Glade also is a big attacker, and that can be cool there. Ultimately, it's nothing super crazy. I say with full GLC, there's a few more nuances to it. But yeah, pretty much you're swinging with big Pokemon, and you want your engine as well. You have a legitimate engine, unlike with Colorless. I mean, you do. You have Barrel Skwovet, and Pelipper is part of that, and Oranguru. But with Psychic, you have the Malamar, which accelerates. You have the Zadu, which accelerates and draws, and the Curly, which draws. The Curly is the safest of the draw options. Zadu only draws if it can accelerate. But yeah, these are all good pieces. It's a really fun deck. Probably the most well-rounded of the decks. One I just really recommend. Then we have Dragon, probably I don't know if I say least well-rounded, but obviously, if you're not familiar with Dragon Pokemon, they have weird attack costs. So we see some weird energies going on in this deck. You could add more special energies if you want, like Aurora or Rainbow. You could add more basics. You could like mess with the list a bunch. Ultimately, you have some powerful basics. Again, like the other types, Haxorus is a pretty strong stage 2. But then you have a Dialga as a powerful basic here, just 160 for 3. Drake for draw. Drake looks pretty good. It does not evolve, but it is good for draw. Koraidon is like a decent basic. It also hits through effects of attacks. I haven't used it. I played this deck like a few times, and it's okay. You have Raging Bolt as well. This can do Snipe. It can also do big damage active, the same amount as Koraidon. These are both ancient as well, so it does play Professor Size Vitality. That seems a little niche, but potentially really, really strong there as well. Then you also have Ultra Rayquaza. Ultra Rayquaza is really powerful. The list does not play Silent Lab because you can't, or Hex Maniac. However, if your opponent has 2 or fewer prizes remaining, it's like super strong. And pretty easy to attack with as well. Tatsugiri also helps with your draw if it's in the active. You're able to get a supporter from there, which is really nice. Overall, the deck works pretty well. You don't have double Dragon Energy. It's a little clunky. I mean, in playing this is one of the ones I played a bit more. I just felt pretty good in terms of consistency, but you can miss, right? You can see pretty easily how this can go wrong if your energy types don't really line up. If you miss the Team Turbo Energize to get your energies, or like Guzman Holler or something. So it can go pretty badly at times, but for the most part, it's a cool deck. One I definitely recommend trying out. There are ways to mess with it. If you mess with it, like your deck really shifts a lot. But for the most part, you're focusing on these big basic Pokemon that are pretty efficient and powerful. They just have awkward energy types, so you want to get that aligned up a little bit there. Then we have Lightning. Lightning is the first deck here that I guess isn't just big basics. This, you still have the stage 1 energy acceleration. You got Flaffy and Electric. I will say Lightning is probably my favorite type, just in general. Kilowatt is a card I've added here. I think it's decent. You can discard a Lightning from it to draw till you have 6. You can pair it with Flaffy and Electric. It feels okay in playing. Then you have some like big basics. Again, there are still big basics here. You got Tapu Koko and Regieleki and Zapdos. Zapdos is pretty unique here, being a it's not a huge basic. It's doing 80 for 1, but it does 80 for just 1. It's really efficient. Can win games turn 1 going second. Oh, I didn't say this. You want to go second. I've like kind of talked about accelerating energy quickly, supporters being good, attacking turn 1. Yeah, you want to go second, right? Just in general for pretty much every deck as far as I'm aware. And then you have Zebstrika as a part of your draw engine. And then you also have Electivire. This is a powerful option. You could also play some spread stuff. This requires special energy, which the list runs. A handful of copies of it has counter gain, recycle energy, and speed lightning energy. Recycle energy will pretty much always be there to be your special energy if you've already committed the other ones in other places for needing something on Electivire there. But the deck is again pretty straightforward, pretty generic. There are ways to make it a bit more interesting using spread elements or some faster elements. Like focusing more on Zapdos. Zapdos is very good here. And yeah, the deck again isn't super crazy, but it is good. And generally this is like kind of the build you're looking for. Then we have Darkness. Darkness is a type here that again is more focused on, I guess, some big basics. You have Hoopa to be fast. Guzzlord is theoretically crazy good, allowing you to take an extra prize with a knockout, which again, this card is super good. If you get the knockout, this is 4 energy here. You might need to boost the damage. There aren't like super good ways to do that. I'm not gonna lie. There is Punk Helmet. I tossed that in. Not sure if that's quite the right play, but it seems decent, I guess, because normally you have like Muscle Band and Dark Claw, but that is currently unavailable. But ultimately, Double Turbo, you have some various forms of energy acceleration, including the new Toxtricity. This card is pretty cool for Darkness, a nice card to attack with Guzzlord, which again is going to be your main attacking option here. Oh, also most decks play Hisuian Heavy Ball. Some must also run Gladion. I think I really like Gladion. I don't play in. Well, a lot of people don't play it that much. People play Town Map. I think Town Map is kind of mediocre. But anyways, Hisuian Heavy Ball here is nice to get your Guzzlord. It's useful in a lot of decks, but Guzzlord is super important. You have Galarian Moltres as theoretically a big attacker as well. It's like big in the late game and like the mid to late game. Spiritomb also can be big, but it damages itself a bunch. So could be used to knock out something pretty big, but also it's kind of situational. And you can boost it with Rainbow Energy to get it damaged faster there. But ultimately, you're going to be using Guzzlord to finish things off. Oh, Beastring, that card is really useful. Just super powerful paired with Guzzlord there. And yeah, you're looking at these cheap attackers, these really powerful attackers. And then in terms of your engine, you also have Galarian Zigzagoon for some extra damage. Really fun card there. We have Light Power to draw on top of Toxtricity, accelerating energies. Again, nothing super crazy with this deck, but you are able to take multiple prizes relatively consistently. In a game, not like you're taking it every turn, but it is really powerful and something that kind of sets this deck apart. And we have Grass. Grass is a bit different here, I guess. I mean, it is still like kind of big basic stuff. You got Tapu Bulu, you have Zarude here. You also do have Bench Barrier with Shaman. Psychic does have Bench Barrier with a Mew, but this Mew is also good. So a lot of lists that in full GLC run Mr. Mime, but that's not here. So you could toss in the Bench Barrier Mew if you want to. But then Grass here, you do have Bench Barrier with a Shaman. You also have the big Stage 2s. You have Meganium to double Grass Energy. You have Rillaboom to accelerate Grass Energy. These are both also decent attackers here. You also have Kricketune to increase your HP, and you have the big bad Torterra using 2 energy here to do 50 for each evolution you have in play, which can be really powerful. Generally, it's like decent. You're not running absolutely crazy amounts of evolution lines. I will say there is no Roserade, unfortunately. That card's pretty good for the deck, but you do have Grottle still to search out your grass Pokemon, which is a really nice like engine piece there. Not a true draw engine, but it is pretty good. Then you have just generally cool stuff. Force Vitality, of course, good for the deck, and Grass has some like pretty decent support in general. The deck isn't anything super crazy, but it is pretty fun if you're looking for like a really big deck. Then we have Metal. This is also kind of big. You have some tanky stuff. Again, nothing super crazy. It does have the Orthworm, this list here. This one does a lot of damage if you have a really tiny deck, 3 or fewer cards left. But then it like one-shots anything realistically. So that is pretty powerful there. Punch and Draw is like an okay setup attack, I guess. But then you have Zamzenta is a just generally good basic as well. You have Iron Crown as well. This can also do big damage. That's a little cheaper there. Heatran's also really interesting here. This is one of the decks that plays Fire Energy. Obviously, Fire plays Fire Energy. Colorless, I think, also plays Fire Energy. Yeah, just plays one just because. And then Metal does here for the Heatran, and it also plays Welder, I'm pretty sure, which is like really funny to accelerate energies, to accelerate fire energies to your Pokemon to be pretty powerful there. You have like some aggressive digging supporters like Clay. You also have Avery. Avery probably cut this card, I'm not going to lie, but if people have been playing with and against this card, tell me your thoughts, I guess. But yeah, it's a little more aggressive. Orthworm is like cool. It's not necessarily amazing. It also plays this Bronzong. There is not the, what's it, Metal Link? Or Metal Links or whatever, the acceleration one. That might not even be the right name at all. But anyways, you don't have that one. You have this one that moves energy around that, which is really cool for some versatility there. You also have Galarian Meowth, which is just for Galarian Berserker to do more damage as well. Ultimately, the deck's not doing anything super crazy, but it's a little more tanky than other decks. You could put in Metang as well. The list plays 6 metals, so that's not that many. Metang's decent, especially without Bronzong, but it's not like consistent, so that's the big issue there. You'd also have Metal Saucer to accelerate. You got like Iron Defender, so you got some relatively cool type-specific cards. You got a Crystal Cave as well. But overall, the deck is pretty cool. Oh, and Metal Frying Pan and Metal Goggles, so a bunch of defense here. Again, if you're looking for a tanky deck, it's pretty fun. And it's also a shockingly aggressive deck with the Orthworm here as well. Then we have Fire. Fire. Oh, also, obviously, weakness matters. Metal does have a way to remove weakness with specifically Metal Frying Pan. There are also some, or there's some other ways as well. Some decks don't really struggle too much against weakness. Dragon obviously doesn't. Psychic is able to like mix it up a little bit there as well. Darkness also theoretically can. But you know, with Psychic, you're looking at like some Pokemon weak to Darkness, some Pokemon weak to Psychic. Honestly, Darkness is going to be the biggest issue for you. So it's not like a non-issue, but you know, if you want to, you could kind of mix things up as well. And like maybe he doesn't have weakness in it. I mean, it's pretty low HP, but didn't want to mention that there. But Fire here, this is again a pretty generic type, I guess, but you have some interesting options as well. You got the Entei and the old Entei to do big damage, and also this Moltres. This is really interesting, doing 90 for 1 if you have damage counters on this. The way you get damage counters on this is going to be using potentially Magma Basin, which is like the natural idea. It also plays Rainbow Energy, or you could get hit into. And you also have some, just Fire generally has some pretty nice support pieces in it. You have Volcanion as a theoretically big attacker or powerful attacking option, turn going second to accelerate a ton of energy onto your board, or just one if you're not terminally going second. Castform, also a pretty big option in terms of damage. You do need to discard a Stadium. The list plays 4, which is like decent. And then it does have free retreat, and it can theoretically attack for free if you have 8 stadiums, but you won't. So the discard. Oh, Chiyu. Chiyu is also pretty strong. A bit of a comeback attacker there. Aswam and Chiyu aren't super tanky, but they are pretty strong. And you have Salazzle for draw, as well as this Rapidash, which has been played a bunch of the deck. I don't know exactly how good it is, but it's been seeing a bunch of play. So here it is. Also, I added Blowtorch. I think this card's super fun. A way to get rid of tool stadiums or special energies. People play a lot of Field Blower, which is good, but Blowtorch is also, I think, a pretty fun card. This doesn't play an absolute ton of basic fires. It plays 6, but I think it is still a card you can get value out of. It is overall pretty fun. Also, this list has like just a bunch of ways to accelerate energy that aren't your Pokemon, so it's a bit of a different feel there. Then you have Water here. Water here is the type that uses Hydro Pump. Well, it's not called Hydro Pump, but you use Super Cold here, or you use Ice Stance to accelerate a bunch, or not Hydro Pump. You do use Hydro Pump. What am I saying? You don't use Rain Dance. You use Ice Dance and that other one to accelerate a bunch of water energy to your board. You also have even Talion is your engine, really, which is like an on-play ability. The stage 1 search for a trainer, then Talion searches for 2. It's kind of sketchy. You also have Swampert, just go 1, draw 3, but again, it is on a stage 2. This does have Hydro Pump, dealing damage based on water energy attached. Wailord is the big one, doing 10, 40, 50 more for each water attached to it, dealing out presumably at least 400 there. For 4. Yeah, it's a bunch of energy, but also it has a ton of HP. So a really, really fun card there. And you have like Wishy-Washy, this like easy basic. It's just like so weird because you have a 50% chance to lose it if it will lose it as well as heal it. If it's got like damage counters on it, it's a weird card. But anyways, you have some cool options like Alolan Vulpix to set up as well. You have Bench Barrier with Manaphy. You have, oh yeah, that's all the Pokemon there. Overall, Water has like mediocre support. You do have Brooklet Hill. Brooklet Hill is like good. It's a type specific search, basic searching option. Light or okay, two type specific. It searches for two. Lightning, Dragon, Water, and Fighting Habitat is pretty nice there. But yeah, pretty much you're just looking to get a bunch of energy on your board. You have a lot of ways to get energy back and find energy and things like that. Most types can't use Professor's Letter. Well, no type can, I guess, because it searches two energies, but it's not in the format. Most lists are having it replaced by Earth and Vessel, which is honestly about as good and has some synergy at times with other stuff as well. But this list you can also run Capacious Bucket, which just gets two basic waters there. So yeah, you just want to get one of your energy acceleration options on your board. Then you want to get a big attacking option. Inteleon is a support Pokemon as well as an attacker. Same thing with Swampert. Those are really cool. Oh, there's also Kyogre for Crazy Snipe. This is like really powerful with Bax Caliber. Honestly, in Standard, it's pretty good. Or it's okay. But overall, yeah, it's a relatively fun deck. This one plays Dawn. I don't actually know how good Dawn is in the different decks. I think I just put in this one. Probably like worthwhile in Grass as well, potentially. But yeah, pretty fun there. And then the last deck here, which is probably the best one. I made a video on it, so you can check that out if you want some more info on this deck, but I will talk about it here quickly. This plays the Hitmon Trio or whatever they're called, where you like do some wacky combo. You can do some like spread and snipe damage, and the deck has spread with Tinglu as well, which again discards a Stadium. There are a few cards like that. Then there's also Lunatone Solrock, so good. Solrock is an attack option, not bad at all. Lunatone is a draw, really nice. Fighting previously had like no draw. That is like other Lunatone, which I don't even think drew cards. That might have been the best option. And that's not live either. And so you're able to use Lunatone for awesome draw. You need to find it, but you do have like Fighting Gong, just such a good card. You also have Fog Crystal and Psychic, so that's not just a fighting exclusive, but it's super good. There's also this Tyrogue. Don't know how good it is, but you can like place damage guys to pivot as well. And then you have Hawlucha for some extra damage counters, which synergizes with Blood Moon Luna as a finisher. Don't know exactly how good this card is, but it's kind of cool, and I figured I'd include it in the deck. I've seen some lists including it, some lists not. However, the big attacker is going to be Okidogi, which just does a ton of damage for 2 energies. You do need a Darkness. This is another type playing different types, kind of, because it takes 2 fighting to attack with. We do 100 more damage, have 100 more HP if you have a Darkness. So you have these energies that are multiple types. It runs Aurora, Prism, and Unit here to have an energy of wait a second. Should that Aurora be a Luminous? I think it's fine as an Aurora. If you have like 2 Luminous and another thing, that's going to be pretty rough. So anyways, these are both fighting and darkness at the same time. So that's pretty useful there. Outside of that, I'm going to sit deck with a more fragile engine because you do need fighting energy in your discard. It's more like high rolly, I guess, but it is pretty decent. But overall, you're focusing on these big attacking Pokemon. I mean, notably Okidogi as your big attacker. Kind of like how with Darkness you have Guzzlord as your main Pokemon. There are also, if you don't want to use the Hitmon Trio, you could use like there's a Lucario. There's something else that I don't remember what it is. Oh, Buzzwole. Buzzwole's pretty good. But ultimately, fighting is a pretty cool type. It, as I said, very strong, pretty straightforward-ish. I don't know, like the Hitmon stuff's a little complicated, but ultimately, overall GLC, a cool format that I enjoy. I don't play it all the time, but I play it some. It's kind of fun. Definitely a bit of a different experience. A lot of decks are somewhat similar to each other, being completely honest. You got like your big basic attackers. You can definitely see those being very powerful in the format because of power creep. Power creep doesn't affect standard that much, but it affects a format like GLC or like, I mean, specifically GLC. We see like Pokemon like, for example, in Dragon, you have the Alga being really powerful, despite the fact that in standard, it's like just so generic and so underwhelming. Same thing with like this Heatran. It's not like super new, but it is here. This Iron Crown. We get Grass. You get like Tapu Bulu. Tapu Bulu's okay in standard, I guess. Darkness, does that have anything? I'm trying to think here. I mean, like Gouging Fire and Entei, these cards are really powerful in GLC. They're not, as impressive, and like this Tapu Koko as well in standard. But ultimately, a lot of decks are going to be this basic focus build. You can do some spread stuff, Psychic, Lightning. There's another type that does spread, Water. And like fighting does have spread, and it's good. So ultimately, there are different things you can try out. I'm looking to make another video on compilation of deck lists. I'll explain if you're familiar with this format called EDH in Magic the Gathering, and this website called EDH Track. I'm looking to make something like that for GLC. I know there is some GLC info online, but anyways, tell me down below your thoughts on GLC and in live. If you're playing it, if you're not playing it, it is kind of hard to find matches. Not super hard, but a little hard. But I hope you enjoyed. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell, comment down below your thoughts, and as always, like I said, see you in the next video.